And we're live. Hello again. I'm Alana, and I am the creative director and executive producer at Filmkik, and I have been doing these daily live streams for this is my second week now, and I'm going to continue to do it through the quarantine. And what I'm covering is I am interviewing and talking with people from all over the world that are staying productive, efficient, happy, and effective during the quarantine. Now, it's affecting all of us in a different way, and what I'm trying to do is find as many different viewpoints, as many different situations so that we can all learn from each other and hopefully get through this in the best way that we can. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Carly Fenton Tipsy, or Tipsy Fenton. And she's an amazing illustrator. She's an illustrator for Kiwi Crate. She's also a freelancer, and she has a fantastic Instagram page. And she also has 2 toddlers. So I want to talk to her about how she is balancing everything. And before I introduce you to her, I do want to show you a little bit of her art because I feel like that puts her in context as to how amazing she is. So here, this is her website, and just look at this. It's just so amazing. Like, she just has such a way of capturing absolutely everything in light and color. And I love her and I admire her. And here she is. So, hi, Carly.
Hi! I'm so excited to be here. I love you too.
Well, great. So it's mutual then. And so, Carly, I just said it. You have a job, a full-time job. You also freelance. You create amazing content for Instagram, and I'm sure a billion other places. And you have 2 kids that are little. So tell me about that. How are you doing?
We're doing good. Very, very, very busy. We have the opposite problem of a lot of people that don't have anything to do. Um, so for us, like we have a really tight schedule that we need to keep. So my kids are 2 and 3, and the only way for us to work is to like take turns. Like I have a time when I watch the kids, and then my husband has a time when he watches the kids, and then otherwise we sneak into this room and lock the door. And this will be like our work time. Um, there's often like screaming in the other room, so my husband took them out of the house to play for this, so you didn't have to hear that.
Well, I mean, that would have been fine, but I understand. Wow. Okay. So,
Yeah, and okay.
all right. Well, we were talking about that earlier, and you were saying that as an illustrator, it's not that big of a jump to work from an office to working from home. But in your case, you're working from home, and your husband is also working from home, and your kids are at home. So now you're also a chef and a parent full time and a co-office. You share now your office, which is this room, with somebody else as well. So tell me, what was it what you expected? Is it harder? Is it easier? Is it hard but fun? What?
Yes.
Yes, all
I
of
think
it.
yeah, it's all of it. I think some things are easier. Like I thought it was gonna be impossible to get any work done. I was like, it's not gonna happen. But I think because we figured out like a shift that works for us, and we had to try different things. So originally, he was gonna get up really early and watch the kids, and then or work, and then I would watch the kids, and then after we put them down for their naps, we'd switch. And we found out that that doesn't work for either of us. Like he's not productive in the morning. Like he's
Mm.
too tired, and then I'm burnt out from watching the kids. So by the time it's time for me to work, I am no longer productive. So we switched it, and now I work in the morning while he watches the kids, and then I'm like really productive because I haven't gotten like I could just like focus without any distractions. And then when I'm done, I'm like totally done. And then he can sort of work while he watches the kids because he can just be on his laptop, whereas I have to be drawing. And as soon as the kids see me with a pencil, they're like on my lap with my pen telling me what to draw.
Oh my
So it works out a
God.
lot better that way. And then we also did shifts. So like if you're watching the kids in the morning, you're in charge of breakfast. And if you were watching them in the evening, you're doing dinner. So it's like it's completely regimented.
Wow. I mean, you need to be hyper organized to get things done with
Yeah,
kids.
and then I
And
think you were saying that you do this too. Like we have shared calendars for meetings, so that we don't overlap meetings. Because that did happen once. I ended up I was interviewing someone that wanted to work at our company, and it was my turn with the kids. So the kids were like jumping into the call. Like Oliver found an old grape and was like, "Hey, mom, look, it's an old grape. It's fun."
oh, Oh my God.
So that's when
Ah,
we learned
kids.
to share calendars, so we don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. I interviewed somebody once with the kids too, and I kept like hiding my camera and like putting it on and hiding it, putting it on, and muting and unmuting, and wow, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think my kids are so young too that like even TV wouldn't work. Like my daughter won't watch more than like 15 minutes of TV because she's too little. She just still wants to move. So I was like, I'll put on TV and I'll like give them snacks, and it didn't work. So so we just do this instead. We just schedule it out.
And tell me, are they excited about what you do? Because I can imagine, I mean, you have like the Little Mermaid and you have like so many. How much? So you told me that they tell you what to draw. How much of that do you listen to?
Oh, I totally draw whatever they tell me to draw. So, actually, my son has this fun game where on my Cintiq, which is my like really nice drawing tablet for the computer, he makes me draw a slide, and then he has me draw a boy on the slide, and then he draws over it, and he'll like trace over it on my Cintiq. Um, and then I'll draw letters for them, like the A, like an outline, and then they'll color it in, and so that's like I'll just make coloring pages essentially, and then they'll color it in over top. So it works out really great. I don't. Oh, and they do get excited because I've had a book that I've illustrated that I've let them read, and I tell them like, "Oh, mommy drew this one," and they get excited. It's pretty cute.
Oh my goodness. That's adorable. Some kids have leapfrogs and then your kids play with your Cintiq.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Nice. A
Only when I supervise.
multi-thousand-dollar tablet.
Yeah, yeah. Only
Sure.
when I supervise.
So are they doing it on Photoshop or do you have like a special app
Yeah.
for them? They're on
Yeah.
Photoshop also.
I just open a file for them, and
Oh, that's amazing.
and then
Wow.
sometimes you can set the color in Photoshop so that it'll change color as you draw. Like, and so sometimes I'll do that, so it's like a changing color.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. They'll be like, yeah, I knew Photoshop before I knew how to write.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. So tell me, what has been, and by the way, I would like to say anybody that's on YouTube or anybody that's on Facebook that has any questions or any comments for Carly, definitely let me know. And I'm trying to monitor that as best as I can, and then I'll go ahead and ask her. So just let me know. Carly, I know that it's been challenging, and I actually I read a quote somebody posted on Twitter that's like, "You're not working from home. There is a global crisis, and you are at home, and you have to work." Like this isn't just working from home, right? This is a
Yeah.
lot of other things that are happening. We're worrying about our toilet paper supply running low. I mean, there's a lot happening. But tell me some of the unexpected positive things that have happened for you during this time.
Well, yeah, I think along with like having to be a mom 24/7 as well as doing work, it's also positive because I get to spend more time with them than I usually would. So even when it's just like I get to be there when Oliver wakes up from his nap and like hold him for like 30 minutes before I go back to work or something, that's time that I wouldn't usually get with them. And I actually finally got him to count to 10 correctly during this time, which like never would have happened because I just don't have the time to like do that usually. And then we're also potty training, so we finally like actually made some like massive improvements like in potty training because we're home, we're stuck at home, like we're doing it. This is our time. So I think yeah, just like getting to spend the extra time with the kids is a lot harder and a lot more work, but I mean, I get more time with my kids during this really special time in their lives. That's great.
That's awesome. I am a big fan of your Instagram feed. So I was wondering if we could pull it up and talk about it. You want to do that? Let's do
Yeah.
it. Okay. All right. So this is Carly's Instagram. And I highly recommend that you follow her. It's Carly Ann Creates. You can see it up here. This is her page. And what I love about it is that, she has 6,500 followers as of today. I really love all of the content that you're creating for it. Tell me kind of what was your inspiration in creating this page, which you honestly didn't even start that long ago.
Yeah, it was October. That's when I started working on
Amazing.
it. So it's been doing so great. I've been really happy. Originally, I was just posting like some personal art, and I didn't really start posting frequently until I'd gone to a conference for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and it got me sort of pumped up to like discover myself as an artist and figure out what my own personal style is, because I've been freelancing and working for other companies for so long. I kind of forgot what my style is. So I started it because I was trying to figure out what does my style look like. And so I started out with like what I do now, and then I just tried adding texture on it, and then I've been slowly sort of going more and more into what my style is. And then I had read on someone else's Instagram that had a lot of followers that they started doing really well when they did tutorials. And I was like, I literally, part of what I do at Kiwi Crate is step-by-step instructions for kids. And I was like, I know how to do that. And I've been drawing for, like a long time. And I feel like I have some tips that maybe would help somebody. So I did one. It's a little farther down. It's like this super, super simple emotions. And I was like, oh, I'll just try it. Yeah. So the first little art tip Thursday was the first one I did. And it took me less than 5 minutes. Like I literally was just like, oh, let's do some faces. And I posted it, and it got like 500 likes, which was compared to 100 likes for all my previous posts. And I was like, wow, it's amazing. So I was like, so then I just started doing more and exploring that, and it just exploded from there. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
my
this one
best
has
one so
40.
far.
Yeah.
45,000. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, look at that. I took us off so we can all see. I mean, first of all, of course, it has so many likes. It's so beautiful. But the fact that you have almost 49,000 likes is really impressive. And that's awesome. I can see why. It's so cool. And then you have these like beautiful ones too, like this one. Let's go full screen
Yeah.
on it. It's so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, and so what I was trying to do, because I was like, um, I feel like I'm breaking the Instagram model of like only doing one thing, because I feel like you get tutorial sites or you get art sites and you do just one. And I really didn't want to do that because I really wanted, I mean, I think it's also nice, like when you are learning art, it helps to see it fully, like how do you take that to a final piece, as well as like how do you break it down. And so my idea was like, I'm just going to show my art, and then I'll show tutorials like how you can get there, and like really simple tips. um, and I think one of the things I try to think about when I do my tips is I want it to be achievable for like anybody, like even if it's like you're just beginning, it might be something like, hey, I can draw smiley faces, and like will be beneficial to you. But as well as if you're someone who's been drawing for a long time, like the haircuts, that's a reference I would keep for myself. Be like, oh, that's some haircuts I can try on my like characters in the future. So I'm trying to sort of find that balance, because even I sometimes when I look at tutorials, they're so advanced that I'm like, I don't know if I could even do that. And I've been drawing for like 20 years. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure it's like still for everybody.
Yeah. So, I mean, you touch on something interesting, and I feel like on Instagram, people have very curated accounts, and then if they want to do something new, they start a new account, and if they want to do something else, they start a new account. And in a way, we don't have like one account that represents all of our different layers of who we are, like we have all these different things that we do, even as a professional. I'm sure there's, not to mention separating our family children posts from our professional posts, right? Even as a professional, we have so many different layers.
Totally.
I absolutely love that you have like how to create a story. So it's not even just illustrating, but you're really speaking to the full person that is also observing that, right? Because they're writing stories, they're illustrating, they're painting, they're doing all these. A lot of these people are one man band that, or one woman band that get everything done. But what made you change from the like shift from that format that is successful of having like one account that's kind of more specialized?
I think it was because the tutorials were doing like so well. um, and so I sort of had this moment where I was like, okay, I can do only tutorials, and do a whole site of just tutorials, and then a separate site, like you said, just for my art. Um, and I just really wanted to keep it together. I wanted it that just to be the two sides of me. Like you can see cute art and you can get tips. And then I asked a lot of people that knew me. I was like, because I'd have people coming up to me like, oh, I love your art tips. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I was like, would you only want to see that? Should I take out my regular art? And they'd be like, no, I want to, like, you can't do that. And I was
No.
like, okay. And then I tried one day, I tried like archiving my own personal art off of the page to see what would happen. And I instantly lost a bunch of followers. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just leave it. It's going to be both. And then I also feel like it's better for me when I do market myself, like as I can use my Instagram for a publisher and they can see that it's not just tutorials, it's also my own personal work. And I also hope that I'll get more of a following on my personal work by having them together instead of like it's a lot of work to build an Instagram. So like having to do that twice is like a lot more than I want to try to do.
Yes. Yes. God. So tell me about the grid fever. And it's real. It's the desire to have your grid be perfect and have like everything like excellent. And I can tell that you've done some of that and then you kind of let it go. And then you do, at least from what I see. What's your feedback on that?
I was trying to, and I think it looks really nice when it looks like that. Like I was trying to do like a single color and like switch back and forth, and it looks awesome. And I do think I get more followers when it is set up that way. But it just became unrealistic for me. I was like, I would just have to stop posting because it takes me so much longer to do a personal post than for a tutorial that I was like, okay, I can either not post for a month
Exactly.
or I can like mess up my grid.
So I want to describe that for our viewers that don't understand what we're talking about. You see how there's this kind of almost like checkerboard situation happening where we have like these full illustrations, and then we have these tutorials in the middle, and they have a solid color. So I could tell that she was doing that, but then she kind of broke it, and then she started doing it again, then she kind of broke it, and here we see like, oh my goodness, two of the same kind next to each other. Oh, how dare you!
Archive one of them. Like
No, I mean, I think that, different people have different viewpoints on that, but you're having a very successful Instagram presence right now. And I wonder how many people are actually going to your actual page versus just seeing your work on the feed. And I will have to agree with you that if it's going to prevent you from posting more frequently, then you're just letting this arbitrary idea kind of stand in the way between you and your creation.
Yeah.
Or do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna see what happened was I was gonna do two tutorials in a row and then an illustration. But then the illustration with the lion and the bunny came out yesterday. It was for a podcast illustration. It was like released, and I was like, I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna post it.
It's beautiful. Let's look at it, the whole thing. Look at that. That is so nice. Very cool. So what have you learned? Have you been able to use your Instagram to drum up business or to get your books?
Yeah, actually. Yeah. I actually have a literary agent that wants to work with me to make an art book because of my Instagram.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, yeah. Wow. So yes, absolutely. I'm really excited about it. And then I think as I continue to grow it too, it'll have even more of that I can use it for. And a lot of people have also reached out saying like, we would like to pay for classes or for videos or etc. So I think eventually I'll be able to start using it for that more.
Yeah.
I think right now I'm mostly focusing on like growth and then my main jobs. But then it'll be the thing in the background that I start to grow.
I love that. And where do you see your Instagram presence going?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know what I mean. No, like you call me on this. This is why you're so great. Somebody else would just start answering. So what I mean is like, where do you want to be with your Instagram? Do you have other accounts that you admire that you feel like, this is success for me on Instagram?
Oh yeah. Okay. So, I mean, to start with, I have like I'm really a believer of like really large goals and then also like achievable goals along the way.
That's good.
So I think, yeah. So, I think like really successful Instagram accounts that are similar would be like Mitch Lee Yu, who does also tutorials, and then he uses it to like help his like Patreon and like to sell classes and stuff like that. So I think like, and there are like 500,000 Instagram followers, which is amazing. That'd be awesome one day. But my short-term goal is just to get to 10K. And I'm really excited about that because then you can do links to your story. So right now I'm really trying to get to 10K so that way I can start utilizing that feature. And then maybe I'll have like a YouTube channel that I can then use my Instagram to filter over there and then do videos of my tutorials and stuff like that. So that's sort of like my shorter term goal.
That's so cool. I love it. If I were to pull up one of your favorite illustrations, either on your website or on your Instagram, what would that be?
Um, would we'll do the Achu one. I just did that one, the one of the monster sneezing.
Let's do it. So it's this one over here.
Yeah, so I just did this one. Uh,
He's scared.
and then this is like some process. So this is like an early color pass. Um, and then I think the rough sketch is in there in the next illustration.
Oh, really? There's more? Let's see.
I think there's one more. Yeah,
Yes!
super rough. So this is like my super, super rough. This is where I start out all my illustrations with. This is possibly drawn with I usually draw in a pen in my sketchbook for my like early sketches. And then I clean it up in Photoshop as I go afterwards.
Oh, I love it so
But this one I was
much.
really excited about because I feel like I said, I've been trying to figure out what my own personal style is, starting in October. And I felt like this one was one where I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I get what I'm trying to do.
So
And I think it's partly
beautiful.
like the color palette, but also like the texture, um, as well as obviously just like really, really cute characters.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. It's so amazing. I love it. I love it. And tell me about this one. You just
Yeah,
posted
so
this
this one
one.
I won a contest in December, and as part of the win, I got to do a paid gig to do an illustration for a podcast. Um, and so they had a couple ideas. It's basically about when you first get into the illustration, like your first big gig, how to like be competent in it and what you should do. And so we had an idea. They had the bunny character in all of the illustrations, so we had the bunny taming a lion. And I brainstormed for a while with some of my friends and some critique groups that I'm in, and came up with this idea of the bunny being able to tame the lion like you would a cat, like with a ball of string.
I love
Uh,
it.
yeah. And I like that added the additional storytelling of like you can see that he like the lion would have destroyed the poster and had been causing trouble, but if you find the right thing, you can still tame him.
I love it. Do you have anything on your website that you would like to show me and talk about? Any particular illustration that calls?
Oh, well, if you want the cafeteria scene there, that's the one that I won the contest with. So I actually do illustration classes on Society of Visual Storytelling. So it's sbslearn.com. Um, and I don't I just think taking illustration classes, even if you've been doing illustration for a long time, is beneficial because I felt like had stagnated as an artist for a long time, and then when I started taking classes again, even if it's information I've learned before, it really started pushing me and getting to a new place where I felt uncomfortable again, which meant that I was actually learning again and like improving, and then it got me to a place where I actually started to really get excited about art again, which I had not felt super excited about for a while. And so they do a monthly contest, and this topic was she overheard them talking about her. And these two characters, the girl and the Yeti, are like personal characters of mine that like represent myself. And so I wanted to do this story with them. And it ended
This
up
is
winning, so that's
beautiful.
why I got to do the podcast.
I love it. I love it. And is that's amazing. I was going to ask you if that's why you did the Yeti for the podcast, but you didn't because that was for something else.
Yeah, that was just
I I
well,
think it's
actually, so that one
fantastic.
I'm gonna be doing. My one of my other goals is to be an author illustrator and get a book traditionally published. So I'm working on like a book dummy, which is like a made up books that you can show people, so that a chew page would be in that book dummy as part of the story.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of books, for those of you that know Kiwi Crate, Carly is one of the illustrators at Kiwi Crate. And so you're very familiar with creating books and creating publications, because every month children get an activity, and they get an activity booklet that gives them instructions, and it gives them like additional information on whatever the subject is that month's activity is about. And so here you have some of the ones that you have done, and they are really, really amazing. Right here, different activities. So something like this, are you the one that decides like what the puzzle is? Do they tell you what to do? Do they say, hey, Carly, make a puzzle? Or tell me about that process.
It's pretty collaborative. It really depends on the topic. Sometimes we have one on like ultraviolet light, and I'm like, okay guys, I need to know what to show because I don't know anything about this topic. And then sometimes it's a lot more open-ended, where it's like, oh, it's about like wind, or it's about music. And so then they're like, yeah, we want to, this one, we're like, they wanted a puzzle of like mini golf. And I'm like, okay, great. And then I just got to make up like a little mini golf course. And I think we brainstormed ideas for like what the traps might be. Like, here, there's a gator, or there's a volcano, and stuff like that. So we'll often brainstorm together. It will be me and one of the writers usually deciding what we want to show.
That is so cool. So you'll work with them on the content, and then you'll create the illustration, and then you hand over the illustration to the printing company. Do you hand them like an InDesign file, or what are you handing them?
So we have graphic designers on site, and so I usually do the illustrations in an AI file, and then the graphic designer places it in InDesign and sends it to the printer.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. What have you learned working at Kiwi Crate as an illustrator?
Okay, so I've been there for, I think, 4.5 years now.
Wow. So in Silicon Valley, that's like 25 years.
Like forever. I'm like one of the oldest people in the company. I was the first in-house illustrator there as well. So I think a lot of the stuff I've gotten to learn about is defining style, because when I came, they had a comic for like a year, and the characters had slowly shifted in their appearance, and they started looking like different characters. And so I had to sort of boil down what the essence of the character was, and like put together style guides. And then we also work with contractors. So like learning that, like I said, like part of what I've learned is how to teach other people to recreate what you've made. And so that's one of the things I do, is I have the style guides, and I work with the contractors, and I'll draw over what they drew. And it'll help me also like put more images in the style guide, because I'm like, okay, this is additional information that you need. Or like, oh, I was doing this, but I didn't realize that I was. Like, I didn't realize that, like, we have sort of a scribble fill, and I realized that I always leave the edge that isn't very clean on one side, because when it's on both sides, it's too messy. But I didn't realize I was doing that until I gave it to a contractor. Stuff like that.
I did notice that. I'm gonna bring up. Let me see if I did notice that right here, like the bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, like on one.
Yeah, so it's almost like sun's hitting the top of the bird's head on like that second one.
Yeah.
Because it acts like a highlight, and when you do it on both sides, it ends up looking just a little too messy. But that was something I didn't realize I did until I had tried to pass it off to a contractor.
I mean,
I was like, oh, it's too messy.
Wow. I mean, it's not the same to do things on your own than to start becoming the art director. That is its own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I've learned a lot about how to do that, like how to teach other people what you're doing. And I think that's part of why, like when I started doing the Instagram, I was like, oh, I know how to do this. I know how to like break stuff down so someone can also achieve it. Yeah.
So I want to ask you about this one. Are these your kids?
They are my kids. My husband sent me this photo. It's really cute because, like, I think everyone knows, like, if you have toddlers that have disappeared and are quiet, you should be afraid
So afraid.
So afraid. And so they disappeared and he was like, oh God, where are they? And he went into the bedroom and they were sitting on this chest in the closet and Oliver was like reading to his younger sister. And my husband sent me the photo and I was like, died. And I couldn't get it out of my head, so I ended up drawing it because I like to do that. Like when it's a really special memory, I like to try and draw it and like sort of immortalize it for myself.
It's beautiful. So then that brings me back to them. What kind of, and to parents in general, what kind of advice would you give somebody that has a lot going on in their life right now and they have kids? And obviously, everybody has a lot going on in their life, even if they don't have kids. But then having kids 100% adds to that because it's not just your own needs, it's the needs of others that you need to be in your house that are very loud that you need
Yeah.
to pay attention to. So, what advice would you give us?
Okay, so to I try to change my mental attitude because I was struggling at first where I was like, oh, I have to now watch my kids and I have to like make dinner and I tried instead to think like, okay, I get to have a date with my kids today. Like from like when I'm watching them from 3 to 6 is our date time and I'm gonna make it really special and like I really have to like my husband's doing work, I'm not, and it's my one thing I'm gonna do and focus on them. And then it becomes really fun because then I was like, oh, then we'll do baking together, we'll garden, or we're just gonna jump in circles and annoy our neighbor. So, but then it becomes like less of a burden because I've made it like my decision that it's gonna be something like this special moment that we get to have it together, and that's really made it emotionally like easier for me.
I really like that. Do you feel like they can feel that?
I feel like it. I think they actually love being home. I think they've been really excited. I thought they were gonna complain, like, oh, because they have friends at daycare and stuff like that, but they haven't at all. They've just been like really excited to be home and like to play with us. So
That's so awesome. That's so cool. Well, we have been live for around 32 minutes, and I want to know, is there anything else, any question that I didn't ask that I should have asked you?
I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared to
Sorry.
ask questions.
Anything else that you want to say? How about that?
I don't think so. I think you're good.
Okay. Well, I think that you, again, I'm so happy that you were on the show. I love following your progress. I have seen it just skyrocket, and that's not a normal occurrence on any social media channel. So as somebody that creates content for her clients on social media, I'm always looking at like who's doing what and what's successful, and I love following your account. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Oh, good, good, good. All right, well, then now we go to me and I say thank you because we've had some pretty faithful viewers today, which is super cool. Normally, uh, oh God, somebody had a comment. Sorry, Al, I was working in an office. Oh, so Al says that he was working in an office and he had over 100,000 coworkers and always dreamed of working from home, but it's all correct. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. He finds it very hard to concentrate in his office. And how do you block out distractions? Carly, you're still here,
I'm
so
still
how
here.
about you answer that?
Okay, so I do find it really helps to find the time period that you feel most productive. Because, like I said, originally my husband was working in the mornings, and he's just not more that productive in the mornings. He's tired. So we really made sure to block out the times where we feel more productive. And I always have headphones in, even if there's no music, because it just makes it a little bit quieter. And this door is locked, like literally, like the kids could be banging on it, but they can't come in. um, yeah, so I just like I try to like carve that out, and then I'll try to start working on something easy to start with. Like I don't jump into like the hardest project I have for the day. I jump into like something easy to get myself rolling, and then I sort of like warm up after that into the zone, as it were.
I have to agree with that one. It's just something that I can knock out really quick, and then I feel already productive, like I got something
Yeah,
done. But
yeah. I
it
check all
didn't
my
take that much.
emails. I am. Yeah.
Sometimes checking the email first thing can be crazy. It depends on what you find. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. But
Yeah,
yes,
that.
normally, yes, it depends on what's coming up. All right, well, thank you for answering that one
Yeah.
last minute. Okay, cool. So tomorrow I'm going to have Yvette, and we're going to be talking about going live on TikTok and Instagram. And she has been doing these daily workouts on Instagram and TikTok, and she's going to be talking about. She's also a teacher, so she has a full-time job, and she's had to transition into teaching from home, and she's also doing these lives. And we're going to be talking about how she is structuring her day so that she can get her work done and she can still do these lives, how she's doing, what she finds has been successful for her. This is a bit of a different setup for live. We're doing YouTube and Facebook and we're going through a switching software, but in her case, she's using her phone and she's doing everything, handling all comments, everything through her phone, and that's really, really cool, super exciting. And I hope that you guys can join us. It's going to be at 3:30 tomorrow. And with that, thank you and have a good afternoon.